Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Jill Kramer, the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Accenture, to Be Cafe. As you all know, Be Cafe is this unstructured, straight from the heart conversations with global thought leaders. So here we have Jill with us. Welcome to Be Cafe, Jill.
Thank you so much, Prasad. I'm so happy to be here.
To kickstart our conversation about B2B marketing, which suddenly seems to have kind of become everybody's centerpiece, which is refreshing in a way, because otherwise marketers are obsessed with B2C.
I love that this is happening, Prasad. It's kind of like someone waved a magic wand and my greatest dream came true.
Why would you say that?
Because I've worked in B2B really my whole career, not necessarily by design, but whenever I got opportunities, when I worked in the agency world, I gravitated toward B2B accounts. It's interesting to look back and realize that and reflect on that. And add to that the fact that I work at a company like Accenture, which helps so many businesses transform, and it's a rich territory for understanding what business is facing, the opportunities they have, the value they create for their people, for their customers, for their clients. And then finally, kind of a really nice moment personally for me, but I think for the industry, when the Cannes Lions added the B2B creativity category, I was over the moon. And the fact that I think, I got to serve on that inaugural jury, what an experience. And you're exactly right. All of a sudden, the world is paying a lot of attention to this. I think there's many reasons for that, but I'm very pleased that it's happening.
And what are the trends that you kind of foresee to kind of take shape in 2023?
The context that we are existing in right now is, as I was mentioning earlier, it's really a variety of changes and crises that the world, humans, businesses have all had to address. And I think in doing that, they've found the ability to deal with more than we probably ever imagined. And there's a resiliency and a strength, I think, that comes from those experiences. And for me in marketing and in B2B marketing specifically, that resiliency, that pride of what we've dealt with gives us permission to move to an even more proactive space. So if you think about that kind of as context setting, I think there's really four things that end up happening. The first is technology and data. I was not a technology and data fan, Prasad, in my career. It intimidated me. It was not my comfort zone. I've really learned to embrace that in my time at Accenture, and many people I work with here and my team will tell you now I am a major advocate. Why? Because I think it makes us smarter. I think it makes us faster, and I think it makes us more creative. You can clear away the clutter. I have watched my team focus, and their creativity goes through the roof. And it is technology enabled. It is not technology that performs the task. It is how it enables human creativity. And I love that. The second thing I think that's really amazing that we have an opportunity to do, I don't think we've done this yet, but we are replacing complexity with creativity in the B2B space. And I want to see that continue. My whole career, we've given ourselves permission that because B2B is hard, it's complex, there's a lot of detail, that we've allowed the creativity to maybe have a little lower bar. The experience at the Cannes Lions, we really all agreed as a group, all of the different people around the table with very different backgrounds, experiences, and coming from every corner of the world, we all agreed that we would not allow ourselves to lower the bar for creativity. This had to be work that would win a lion in any other category. And we really recognized that fact that very often people use complexity as an excuse. And really, we needed to remove that and say every end recipient of our messaging is a human being. And so stop with the complexity. Maybe that's our next creative catalyst. So that's a trend I see continuing in B2B, just bringing a lot more creativity and a lot more humanity, and pushing the complexity aside is really people and purpose and love. And, you were mentioning purpose a little bit as we were chatting before the Bee Cafe began. But everybody wants to know that what they do matters, that their work matters. And so I think that another trend that's going to continue in marketing and communications is continuing to make that connection for people on what matters. And not using that word as a catchphrase, but really understanding it. And if we, large enterprises, if we could make people understand why we exist and the value we bring to the world, we talk a lot here about we want to be known, understood, and loved, because you should aspire to truly being valued for the people that either work for you or who work with you as clients and customers. And then the last but not least, is partnership. I think there's a really exciting trend happening in marketing and communication inside of enterprises where they are true business partners. I talk about a partnership that I value greatly here, which is my partnership with HR.
You said that you, as an individual, was not very comfortable with technology and data. So how did you kind of befriend the beast, so to speak?
I think you have to do it. I think you can't overly get in your own head. I have really become the person who now is leaning in. In fact, we just really did a massive transformation here at Accenture in our own marketing function using more of our own technology. And things that used to really intimidate me, different databases, different dashboards. Like I didn't like any of those words, Prasad. I really didn't. Now I'm seeking them out. Say, I have an idea. Let me see if I can validate that hypothesis. Or I just want to check. I'm going to do a pulse check. I hold myself accountable to regularly diving into different parts of our own technology. It might be our planning. What can I see going on? Do I see things converging? Do I see an increase of certain activities the business is asking for from us? Or do I see a decrease in other areas? And is that intentional? Other times I spend time in the insights section of our technology, power base. And I look for new things that make me go, wait, why is that happening? What if? And I also use it to power efficiency. One of my favorite questions is, what if we didn't? Very often marketing departments, they are on that wash, rinse, repeat cycle. And I love using technology to answer the question, what if we didn't? The answer exists, Prasad. You find it. So what's really interesting, I think, is you befriend the beast by one, actually connecting, and two, starting with creativity. What is the creative opportunity for you? And how is technology or data enabling that, not working in contrast to it?
And, the wash, rinse, repeat circle, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because when you do the same thing, you get the same results. And marketing, they say, is often about not getting the same results, right?
That's exactly it. And so how do you balance consistency and repeating things that work with giving yourself the space to try new things? And I think that we have to constantly be asking ourselves, what did I do new in this quarter, in this half, in this year? Because it really is easy, especially when there are a lot of crises happening, especially when the world puts a lot of pressure on marketing and communication departments. It could allow you to be so focused on execution that you forget that creativity and innovation. So we like to set ourselves goals that every quarter we could say, here's what we tried new. And it's okay if it didn't work. But a lot of those innovations, they do work because they are powered by data.
Okay, and is the B2B space in a way uniquely kind of, gifted, if I may use that word, because they are not open for public scrutiny as much as B2C brands. If a B2B campaign bombed, for example, there would not be so many critics saying, I told you so. So do you feel B2B marketers have it easy on that front?
That's a really interesting thought. I haven't thought of it that way. It really depends what happens, I think. Most people in marketing, creative advertising, leadership roles, I think they hold themselves to a higher standard, like it has to work and it has to be good work, that even if the world might not be scrutinizing it, they are. I know I personally fall into that category. But I also, you'll notice that the world is paying more attention to every type of brand. and they're paying attention to corporations and the role they play in the world. So I do think that scrutiny is going to increase. So if anyone is thinking that they are in a gifted space, I wouldn't get too comfortable there, because I think that might be short-lived.
But in this space of, wanting to prove themselves, okay, because are they kind of really swinging the other end where data just kind of is the be all and end all, and creativity sadly is taking a backseat?
Well, listen, Prasad, I think we could all talk about in our own careers, we've seen moments where creativity took a front seat or a back seat. I don't think data is the enemy of that in any way, shape, or form. I think people who are going to put creativity in the back seat, they'll find any excuse to put creativity in the back seat. And I really do say this from my heart. If you understand the role data should play, it is a liberating force for innovation and for creativity. I would be really interested to have a conversation who saw it as anything that other than that. Again, if it's used as an excuse, but even if data tells you not to do something, it opens you up the possibility to do something else instead. So really, it's hard to talk me into data ever being a force that holds back creativity.
However, okay, we have heard conflicting views from, if I may say, the creative minds, that when you are playing with too much of data, there is not enough scope to experiment, which means there is probably a huge blue ocean out there that you're missing out when you're too performance oriented. What are your views?
That's one of those excuses. So you just said something that makes me think about two things. One, if you are creating reasons why not to do something versus reasons why to create a new opportunity, then you have to ask yourself what's putting yourself in that position. Something is happening. And the second thing is, you were talking about that whole blue ocean. Whenever a creative team tells you they don't have time to be creative or to innovate, that's where I'm going to go back to technology and data. Guess what? Technology and data can actually give you more time to be creative by understanding what is inefficient. So if you know what's working, you want to give your teams time to do more of that. That's what leaders do. And I don't think you can create that time if you don't have the data or the technology that allows you to see the landscape. I mean, you must know, we talk about this a lot at Accenture, marketing and communications. We need to know the work and know what works to know what we want to imagine next. And that is opening up that ocean. It shouldn't be keeping it from your creative leaders at all.
Okay, and as we speak, we are in the midst of an era where the entire marketing model is being reimagined. Now, having seen marketing over a period of time, what would be your prescription to reimagine the marketing model?
I think my prescription to reimagine the marketing model is you do need to know your contribution to the business. You need to know the work you're doing and the contribution, the human, the inspiration, and the effectiveness of what you're doing. And then I think you need to constantly be challenging yourself to what did you do new every single year, so that you're constantly got that balance of value creation, but also creativity, inspiration. And if you're doing both of those things, then the marketing model is always going to be critical to the entire business. And that's a good way to constantly be asking yourself, am I performing? Am I bringing value? Would everybody agree on it? We are storytellers, Prasad, right? So you not only have to create the value, but you need to make sure people feel connected to it. And then what is that new space that I'm doing? I always look back every year, and if I haven't challenged myself and tried new things, that's a bit of a disappointment.
And as a marketer, what gives you sleepless nights?
I get asked that question a lot. First of all, I will tell you, we're big on health and well-being here at Accenture. I sleep very well. We do a lot to ensure that we have good space. My husband would back that up. I sleep like a rock. What does give me sleepless nights when I have them it's people oriented.
Tell you something. Every
Sure.
CMO I've asked this question to tells me the same answer. I sleep really well.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing for our trend. I think that Prasad, when I don't sleep, two things happen. One is your subconscious is telling you that you missed something. And so I think that when you hear that voice speaking to you, you need to listen to it. Sometimes the middle of the night is the only time it comes up. And then the second thing is people. I really think marketing is an amazing career. And I am very focused on, are we really giving opportunity to people? Are we creating really exciting career paths? That's the thing that will keep me up at night is the people side of what I do.
We are also hearing about, and no less than the Harvard Business Review that says that we're moving from a world of first party data to a world of no party data. Is that a concern?
It's funny because we've also been saying, is data a friend or a foe? I think that it is a concern. You have to be ahead of it. You have to be understanding, what do you know firsthand? What is that first party data sources? And are you curating them? Are you nurturing them? Or are you, again, so busy performing 8,000 other tasks that you're letting that fall by the wayside? It is inextricably tied to value, right? If you are creating value for those around you, then the data comes with it. So I think every company is obsessed with that value, and therefore the relationship they form with the end user, and with that comes data, and comes a shared platform between the user and the provider that makes it worth their time, frankly.
Most marketers are often evaluated by what's the big idea, but but like they say in the business of startups, right? There may be 99 startups that failed before that one succeeded. However, in marketing, we are too thin on patience to kind of give marketers that benefit of doubt. How do you convince, all parts of the organization to be patient and persist till we hit upon that gold mine?
I love that you asked me that question, because that was a big learning for me personally in my career, that people expected creativity to be a home run every time. And that's such a false expectation. So I think you have to constantly speak in those terms, that creativity is a process. Creativity is a shared experience. You get what you give. And I've watched creative teams be put under that pressure of not being able to have a round that leads to feedback, that leads to an even better idea. I've watched people be so wanted to get to the end that here's the idea, therefore we must execute, and they don't let the creatives continue to iterate. What a danger that is. So I think that the way to avoid that is to constantly be talking about the process. Let other parts of the business in. Let them understand the way it works. Sometimes creative teams keep the rest of the business at an arm's length. I think actually bringing them closer, that goes to the partnership point I was talking about, actually lets them see the process, and they will value it more because they do see it. So you just need to talk about it. You need to be honest, and you need to let people in.
Okay, but is there a danger there? Because everybody feels that, hey, I understand creativity.
That's the worst part of our field by far. I always joke, it's like, if you think of other functions that run a corporation, nobody will claim to know the legal side or the finance side. I don't think there's an easy solution for that. I think the people that succeed in this business recognize that they don't get their feathers ruffled by it, and instead use that kind of, oh, I know creative, I would write the headline this way, or I would do the idea that way, or I would create this type of an image. Use it as a recognition that that's actually feedback you're getting. And what we do is driven by insights. So actually, when someone else thinks they know the creative and they give their expression back, that's a beautiful gift of insight. So take it for what it is, and then do it better than they ever could have. And I think when you do that, and when great creatives do that, then it's a wonderful thing. I've never seen someone go, oh yeah, my idea was better. So I think, view it as insights instead of people redoing your creative. Maybe, Prasad, that's just something that I have done that's a self-protective device, but it works.
Okay. And if I may ask you, a quick rapid fire kind of questions.
Sure.
What would be your favorite marketing mantra?
One just popped into my mind, but it was actually a place that I worked at a long time ago. But I'm gonna give them the credit. And it's the idea of the work. So my favorite marketing mantra is the work, whether that is know the work or know the work works. I just think it always has to be about the work. We can't forget that we create things. And sometimes because they're ideas, they're ephemeral and you forget that, but we produce things. So it's the work, the work, the work.
And who's that one thought leader across disciplines who has been a huge source of inspiration for you?
To be honest, I don't know that I have one.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to be a I'm a sponge. So I
Wow.
soak things up from a lot of sources, from my family, from popular culture, from reading, from publications or thought leaders that I love, from work that I see that I say, I wish I'd done that. So I think it's less one across and more, what are the different sources that keep filling me up?
Well, that's very interesting. If I may ask you, what's the one thing that you read and it stayed with you for a very long time in the recent past?
Well, it's funny. Don't judge me here, Prasad, because it's just a light source of fiction. But it was a book that came from some book club that I saw online, and it was called Wrong Time, Wrong Place. I think it was Reese Witherspoon's book club. And I was going on vacation and I really wanted a great light read. I wanted to let my brain just not be, weighed down, but it really did stick with me. It had a lot of things in there that addressed themes as a parent, that addressed themes as a spouse or a partner, that addressed the whole idea of time. And what if you looked at your life in different times? There's a point in the book when she's back in time, and I hope no one's reading it and I'm ruining this for them, but she now has a teenage child and she sees her teenage child again as a 2-year-old. And I think about that a lot. Like, I have grown children and I'm like, what if I could go back and pick up their little 3-year-old selves and hug that person? So it's really stuck with me because it hit on a lot of themes, really more in the personal space, the professional space, but things that have just stuck with me.
Beautiful. And since you are an observer of culture, what is that one signal from culture that's probably going to influence the world as we move ahead?
I love accountability. I think that culture is moving back toward accountability, being accountable for what you stand for, being accountable for what you say and what you do. And that's a personal, moral code of mine. And so I like accountability. And I think sometimes culture, the world at large, doesn't get enough credit for that. We tend to focus on where we stray, but I think that accountability is important right now in the world, and I like that.
That's it from us at B Cafe. I should thank you very much, Jill Kramer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I truly enjoyed every minute, and you gave me a lot of good things to think about. Very good questions. Thank you for having me.